I was supposed to be home before midnight. My mom had been calling me all afternoon to check how far I'd gotten, reminding me how icy the roads could get on Christmas Eve, telling me the storm was supposed to move in faster than expected. I kept reassuring her I'd be fine. I'd driven through worse weather before. But in the back of my mind, I already felt that pressure in my chest that comes when you know you're racing the weather, and the weather usually wins. By the time I reached the long rural stretch before my hometown, the storm had already swallowed half the sky. Snow blew sideways across the road in thick sheets. The asphalt disappeared between gusts, and my headlights hit nothing but white. I slowed down, leaned forward in the seat, and kept telling myself I just needed to get through this final hour. I was maybe 20 minutes from the next small town when I saw it, a figure standing at the edge of the road, one arm raised uncertainly, like he wasn't sure whether he wanted help or was afraid to even ask for it. The snow was coming down so hard that I only saw him for a second before my headlights moved past. I actually drove by him completely before my brain caught up. I don't know why I slowed. I don't know why I looked in the rearview mirror. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the cold wind shaking the car and making me think no one should be out in that. He wasn't wearing enough for the weather. A jacket that looked too thin, no hat, no gloves, just standing there like he'd been dropped into the storm. I pulled off onto the shoulder. The tires skidded for a moment before the car stopped. Snow whipped around the windshield in frantic bursts. I kept my hazards on and watched the figure get closer, unsure what kind of person would even be desperate enough to hitchhike in a blizzard. When he opened the passenger door, a blast of cold came in with him. "Thank you," he said immediately, breath shaking. I didn't think anyone would stop. His voice sounded normal. He had snow crusted on his hair and shoulders. I nodded, trying to act casual, despite how tense I felt. "No problem. Where'd you headed?" "North," he said. "Just somewhere warm." It wasn't a real answer, but the storm was so loud against the car that I let it slide. I pulled back onto the road slowly, tires fighting for grip. For a few minutes, neither of us talked. The only sounds were the heater struggling against the cold and the wind pounding on the glass. I tried focusing on the road, but I kept noticing things about him, like how he didn't rub his hands together, even though they were red and stiff with cold. At first, I told myself I was overthinking it. Picking up strangers is supposed to feel awkward, but the longer he sat next to me, the more the air started to feel wrong, like I'd made a decision I couldn't undo. "Rough night to be out," I finally said, just to break the tension. He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. I didn't have much of a choice. Something in the way he said it made my stomach tighten. I nodded again, pretending it didn't bother me. We drove in silence for a while. The storm got worse. The road kept disappearing. My hands were gripping the steering wheel too hard, but I didn't want him to notice. Then he shifted in his seat, turning slightly toward me. "You passed me at first," he said. "Why'd you come back?" It wasn't an accusation, but it felt like one. I swallowed. "I don't know," I said truthfully. "Didn't feel right leaving you there." He hummed in response, like he didn't believe me or didn't like the answer. I kept my eyes on the road, but I could feel his gaze on the side of my face. A few minutes later, he leaned closer. "You should have kept driving," he said softly. My stomach dropped so hard, it felt like the floor of the car fell with it. I gripped the wheel. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't respond. He just leaned back in the seat and stared forward again. I felt a cold, prickling sensation crawl up my arms. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Look," I said carefully. "If you want me to drop you somewhere specific, just tell me." Nothing. He just kept staring ahead, like he wasn't in the same moment I was. Like his thoughts were somewhere else entirely. The tension in the car got unbearable, the kind that squeezes your ribs and makes every breath shallow. I wanted to pull over. I wanted him out of the car. But the storm was too bad. Stopping meant the car could get buried, or another driver might hit us. I kept driving. Then out of nowhere, he whispered, "Don't go that way." I flinched so hard, the wheel jerked slightly. "What?" He pointed straight ahead, at the empty road swallowed by snow. "Don't go that way. We shouldn't." His voice had changed, low, urgent, almost frantic. I felt panic rise in my chest. "This is the highway," I said. "There is no other way." He shook his head, pressing his fingers into his thighs. I could see the tension building in him, like he was about to snap. "We need to turn around," he said. "Turn around. Now." Fear surged through me, sharp and sudden. I didn't know whether he was having a mental episode, or was high, or was planning something. My heartbeat hammered in my throat. "I'm not turning around in the middle of a storm," I said. "Just calm down." He didn't calm down. He grabbed the steering wheel. It happened so fast, I didn't even process it at first. His hand clamped onto the wheel and yanked left. The car swerved violently. My body slammed against the seatbelt. I shouted, grabbing the wheel with both hands and fighting him for control. "What the hell are you doing? Let go." He didn't. His eyes were wide, darting, terrified in a way that made no sense. He kept saying, "Don't go that way. Don't go that way." Over and over, pulling harder. The tires skidded. The back of the car swung out. We slid sideways across the ice. I felt the moment the car lost all traction. There was nothing under us anymore. We went off the road. The world flipped. Snow, dark, airbag, impact, a violent, twisting blur. Something hit my head. Pain exploded above my eyebrow. For a second, there was nothing but ringing and cold, and the taste of blood in my mouth. When everything stopped, I realized I was slumped sideways, seatbelt digging into my ribs, the engine hissing quietly. My vision swam. My ears roared. My face felt wet. Blood from the split above my eyebrow. I forced myself upright. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. I blinked until the world stopped spinning. The passenger door was open. He was gone. Just gone. No footprints yet. The snow was already filling them in. No silhouette walking away. No sound except the wind battering the car. My chest tightened painfully. He left me. After causing the crash, he just vanished into the storm. I fumbled for my phone with numb fingers. No signal. The battery was low from the cold. For the first time that night, I felt genuine panic. Not fear, panic. The kind that squeezes your lungs and makes you want to scream. even though it won't help. I tried the engine. It clicked weakly, then died. The heater was gone. The cold pressed in fast, sharp, dangerous, the kind that steals feeling from your skin. I sat there for what felt like hours, shivering, bleeding, checking my phone every few minutes, watching the snow pile up around the car. The fear I felt at that moment was suffocating. Fear that comes from realizing you are alone, injured, losing heat, and no one knows where you are. When help finally arrived, a plow truck driver who spotted the hazard lights still faintly blinking. I could barely move. They asked what happened. I told them there was a hitchhiker. I told them he grabbed the wheel. No one found him. Not that night. Not the next day. Not ever. It didn't become news. There was no manhunt. No investigation beyond a few questions. They assumed he wandered off to another road and got a ride. They acted like the whole thing wasn't a big deal. But I know how he looked at me before he grabbed the wheel. I know how tense he'd gotten. I know he meant it when he said I shouldn't have picked him up. And every Christmas Eve since then, I still wonder what he was after, and whether leaving me injured and bleeding in a ditch was part of it. Thanks for watching. No sleep tonight. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It truly helps this channel grow and keep these horrors coming. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, sleep well.